Today, we will be discussing Jai Telangana movement, that is 1969 agitation. In our Telangana history, different agitations, different phases of agitations have different slogans, very catchy slogans. For example, if we talk about 1959 movement, Mulki Go Back movement, Non-Mulki Go Back movement. I repeat, Non-Mulki Go Back movement. We called it as Idli Sambar Go Back movement. And come 1969, the entire phase is associated with a name, that is Jai Telangana. Jai Telangana, though the same slogan Jai Telangana was given in 1952, this phase we are calling it as Jai Telangana because it is a prolonged phase. For many months the agitation was intense, deep, entered into each walk of life of the society, and at the same time Jai Telangana was the crucial slogan. And the difference between the 1952 and this movement, if we see, 1952 movement started as a movement against non-mulkis or gair-mulkis, and employment is the major issue. From 1952 to 69, lot of water has flown in the Ganges. So what has happened? In 1969, we could see what are the ill effects of the United Andhra Pradesh government from 56 to 68. And all these things brought forth a new phase of agitation that is known as Jai Telangana agitation. And this Jai Telangana movement or 1969 movement is an important phase in Telangana history. This is the first time we have huge number of martyrs. 369 people were killed in this agitation, in the firings, in the lathi charge. They were grievously injured, seriously injured, then they died. No suicide as it happened in the last phase. This is all police brutality or the state brutality. That is why Telangana movement in 1969 was very violent, in a sense that attacks on the buildings, communication network, or many things we'll be seeing in detail in the class. Then deaths of the people is huge. That is how 1969 movement goes into the history as a movement which is very intense, deep and violent, and left a great scare on the Telangana society as the entire movement was completely subdued or subjugated in the latter phase. One, by police brutality or suppression, and two, by the political maneuverings. The entire movement went into a political phase where 1969 movement could not win over the desired objective of separate Telangana state. Second aspect, 1952 movement started as gair-mulki or non-mulki agitation and entered into a phase that separate Telangana should be there. But because of the brief period of that movement, that could not become as an agitation of prolonged period. But in the 1969 movement, there is an experience, a long experience of the people about the treachery or bad governance or malicious intentions or blatant violation of all the rules which they have formed, all the agreements which they have signed, and the result is before the society. That is why 1969 movement is a non-compromising movement from the side of the people. From the side of the politics, it is compromised in the latter stage. So the non-compromising attitude of the people for the grievances which are arising out of the misrule between 56 to 68 is the reason for the Jai Telangana movement, that is 69 agitation. We will be discussing the origins of Telangana agitation, protest in Kottagudem and other places, fast unto death by Ravindranath or some of the other people. Then 69 agitation for separate Telangana here. Role of intellectuals, students, employees in Jai Telangana movement. So the basic document, if we want to talk about the movement, I think this book, this is Writings on 1969 History. This is 1969 Udyamam Charitraka Patralu. This book is it's a historical document because all the documents, all the photographs or appeals, articles related to 1969 movement are compiled in this book. This book is edited by Tadakamalla Vivek, Raghavachari, Sridhar Rao Deshpande, Sangishetty Srinivas. All these names we'll be talking about in future also, in other classes also, who are contributing to the Telangana movement. And this book was published on behalf of Telangana History Society. I am mentioning about Telangana History Society and this book because this book is an important document, a historic document, where you have the first-hand account of the 1969 movement. All the other books, whoever is writing, is the analysis or understanding of the movement. So this movement is non-corrupt, uncorrupted or unbiased things, because you will be having many pamphlets published in those times. Isamia Bazar Committee or Central Committee of this Telangana Praja Samiti or schools and Socialist Youth League pamphlets, all these things are published in this. Anyone wants to read thoroughly about Telangana movement of 1969, this book is the best book, so that you will have the primary materials. So, I am basing my lecture on this book plus many other materials. So, what is happening and what is the background? I am again taking you back to 1956. 1956, Andhra Pradesh formed, but within no time, Telangana could understand that nothing is going to happen under United Andhra Pradesh rule. So, on 8th March 1958, Telangana Mahasabha was organized at Pratap Girji's Kothi in Hyderabad. Pratap Girji, a royal feudal family, the rich aristocratic family in Hyderabad, supporter and sympathizer of Telangana. So, in his Kothi means in his building, Telangana Mahasabha was organized. Telangana Mahasabha, it was presided by Venkata Swami. Yes, Venkata Swami. And inaugural address was given by Harish Chandra Heda. Harish Chandra Heda, remember this name. This name is important in the first phase of our Telangana history. Harish Chandra Heda and Gnanakumari Heda. This couple was popular in Telangana movement and Telangana political scenario. So Harish Chandra Heda was the person who gave the inaugural address. Bhoj Reddy, Madapati Hanumantrao, Marri Channareddy, Gopalrao Egbote, all these names will be getting again and again. Raj Bahadur Gaur, ACPI leader. All these, in this you can see Bhoj Reddy, Madapati, Gopalrao Egbote, all these are from Congress party. Marri Channareddy, Congress party. Raj Bahadur Gaur he is not Gaud. Many books are giving as Raj Bahadur Gaud. It is not Gaud, it is Raj Bahadur Gaur, a North Indian origin. Raj Bahadur Gaur, a CPI leader. These people attended Telangana Mahasabha and spoke at length about the happenings in the past 2 years. What has happened? All the violations of gentleman agreement. So, this Telangana Mahasabha is the first attempt to reorganize the Telangana movement in United Andhra Pradesh. This you can take it as fact. In your examination, they may ask an indirect question. They will not ask directly what is Telangana Mahasabha, who is the president. This is a direct question. If analytically it has to be asked, the question can be framed like this. Which organization is the first organization which raised its voice in United Andhra Pradesh for the rights of Telangana? That is Telangana Mahasabha. 8th March 1958. I am talking about 8th March, another important day. Remember 8th March? We have many things happening on 8th March. We will be talking about another meeting, that is Bhuvanagiri Mahasabha on 8th March in the last phase of our Telangana movement. Why this 8th March? See, these are internationally prominent days. 8th March and May Day. We have these two occasions, we have availed these occasions to organize the masses. Remember this aspect. So 8th March, Telangana Mahasabha. So this is the first voice raised in a uniform manner. Then in that aspect, next, a subcommittee of Congress was formed with Konda Lakshman, K.S. Narayana and P.V. Narasimha Rao and some more people. These people were asked to look into the violations or the injustice being meted in the United Andhra Pradesh government. This is not a government committee. This is a subcommittee of Congress, remember. So, by this, we are having the first phase or first beginning of the discussion of injustice or non-happening of the non-implementation of the gentleman's agreement provisions. Then comes another important section. This is all part of your background of 1969 movement. 52 is over with the firing at City College and Jagan Mohan Reddy Commission inquiry and everything is over. 52 is over. SRC came. We have to accept. We were forced to accept the merger and Telangana is gone or Hyderabad state is gone. It became part of history and Andhra Pradesh came into existence. But even in Hyderabad state, the NGOs, even in Hyderabad state, the NGOs who were an organized force were fighting for their rights. So that Hyderabad NGOs was an organization which was organizing the non-gazetted officers even in Hyderabad state, much before 1956 in Andhra Pradesh. So this HNGO, remember this word? HNGO was the original form of TNGO, that is Telangana Non-Gazetted Organization. This HNGO was organizing employees. And during 1964-65, this HNGO was renamed as TNGO, Telangana Non-Gazetted Organization. Remember this TNGO? This is one of the important organizations in the last phase 2. Sakala General Samme are 4 important leaders of all the employee section, government employee section were in the forefront of JAC. We will talk about it in detail there. So, the founder president of TNGO, K.R. Amos, was fighting for the rights of Telangana employees in secretariat and head of the departments, like the highest offices of any department will be located in Hyderabad. He was in secretariat and he was a leader of NGO. So automatically he was taking up the issue along with him, Chari, another important leader of TNGOs of that times. So these two people were organizing as leaders and NGOs is an organized group. So I call them as torch bearers basically. So they were agitating against unemployment. Means in the recruitment there are problems of not taking locals into jobs. Second thing is service rules. This is a very important aspect. We'll be talking about how they were being violated time and again. So on 10th July 1968, they gave a call to observe it as Telangana Safeguards Day. Safeguards, as we have already discussed, safeguards are the parliamentary provision which is giving Telangana some of the provisions for better deal under keeping the gentleman's agreement in view. So this Telangana Safeguards Day, the call was given by TNGOs to be observed on 10th July. So because of all these agitations, representations, memorandums and small dharnas, gate meetings or lunch hour meetings in secretariat by TNGOs, one important aspect has happened in the Hyderabad government, that is government of Andhra Pradesh at Hyderabad. I'm consciously keeping my words. Government of Andhra Pradesh at Hyderabad means at secretariat. A GO was issued to retrench non-mulkis from the mulki jobs. So TNGO's agitation forced the government to issue a GO on 30th April 1968. Remember, 69 movement is starting in the month of January 1969. We are talking about April 1968. From here onwards, the ball is set. Now the rolling will happen now from here. With the GO says very, very important aspects like non-mulki should be retrenched. I read, non-mulkis who are appointed temporarily in the vacancies reserved for the mulkis in a temporary mode or temporarily fashion should be replaced by suitable mulkis as and when they get the suitable mulkis. They have written as and when because they are not even sure by this time also that mulkis will be capable of posts. The GO says non-mulkis who are appointed temporarily in the vacancies reserved for mulkis. So the first part of the GO says they should be sacked. Non-mulkis should be immediately terminate the appointments of non-mulkis as these are wholly irregular. Remember, wholly irregular. Appointment of a non-mulki in a mulki place is irregular. That's what the GO says. And then they have given some time. And before that, you have to retrench all these people. And what will happen? Immediately, the reaction for this GO will be there. First thing is non-mulki's reaction, because they'll be losing jobs, already occupying the posts which were actually reserved for Telanganites. So non-mulkis reacted. How? One thing is very subtly. The head of the departments, as we were talking about, most of the people who are catering as officers, are issuing GOs, are implementing, are executing, are from Andhra. So many departments did not implement it. And in some departments like Panchayat Raj, Education and Electricity Board, electricity means electricity board, they have removed non-mulkis. Wherever there are some strong leadership of NGOs, wherever people can pursue the issue with the government, definitely non-mulkis were retrenched. So as a result, non-mulkis who were retrenched are going to court. They are approaching the court saying that our retrenchment is illegal. Basically, Nalagonda ZP teachers who were retrenched under this mulki class, under the GO, MS, under this GO, that is to remove these mulkis, non-mulkis and appoint mulkis. ZP Nalgonda teachers are going to court, and KTPS is another place which was affected by this GO. In KTPS, people were demanding since long about the injustice to the locals in jobs. When this GO has come, KTPS is also active, and they also, some of the people in KTPS were retrenched. So they also approached the court, and very unfortunately they have got, means Andhras who were retrenched, got a favorable verdict. So this is the background. Next, KTPS, Kottagudam Thermal Power Station. KTPS under Electricity Board. This was the first epicenter. I am calling it as epicenter. Means there should be some point where an agitation can take the cue, or a spark can be lit. Once a spark is lit, it will catch up on the area, or it will become fire. So the spark is needed. Like in 1952, you have a spark. The spark is Parthasarathi, high-handedness and mass transfers of the teachers. That was the spark. Then it has snowballed gradually into a separate movement. Here, KTPS is the area which was seriously fighting for the rights of Telangana, because most of the employees are Andhras. 200, only 200 out of 1400 are from Telangana. So you can see, out of 1400 means 1200 are from Andhra, 200. Well, where is the ratio? If you have to see the gentleman agreements part, the ratio should be there, but it is not at all considering any ratio of allocations in jobs. So in 1968, 175 Telangana employees were removed. That is one aspect. This removal is one thing. You are removing at the same time non-implementation of the mulki rules. GO has given the boost to the movement in KTPS area. So KTPS was in a protest mode. KTPS is taking the help from TNGOs. KTPS, most of them are workers. TNGOs are NGOs, those who can talk and discuss about the GOs and many things they can, what you call, understand and implement. So TNGOs is a regular and very active trade union body. So TNGO started the agitation along with KTPS. They have taken help from this. So TNGOs of Palvancha and these people were supporting, and they are also in agitating mood. So as a result, the movement has created a background where things are moving towards a greater public participation as a mass protest in the next phase. So who are the basic pioneers of this 1969 movement? Conditions we have discussed. Now pioneers, actually any movement has to be started at some point or some place, though in a very minimal scale. For example, this movement has the beginning in a small area like Illandu in Khammam district. That is, Telangana Prantiya Samiti was started in 1968 by one Kolishetti Ramadasu, and this is talking about the rights of the people. Kolishetti Ramadasu educated, but getting no opportunities in United Andhra Pradesh government. Kolishetty Ramadasu, along with many students, many youth, they have started organizing the people in Illendu and that area. And second one is V.L. Narasimha Rao, a leader of TNGO at Palvancha. And the third one, K.S. Ramasudhakar Raju, a leader of Teachers Union. So these three people, we can say, were organizing at local level for Telangana. So these people are pioneers and they were creating consciousness in the people. As a result, we can see on 30th December 1968, in a government girls ZP school, that is Jilla Parishad school, Telangana Hakkula Rakshana Samiti was protesting in the school pub meeting. That meeting was attended. Actually, this is a school meeting, school function. It was attended by Pidatala Rangareddy. Pidatala Rangareddy was a political leader, occupied many posts by the time. Then another one is TRC chairman J. Chokkarao. Chokkarao, Telangana Regional Committee chairman. So important people, they came to that meeting. And in that meeting, the demonstration and the slogan of separate Telangana angered or at least was not liked by the leaders who are attending this meeting. Chokkarao is the chairman of Telangana Regional Committee. He should not have opposed, but he has talked, which is very, very intriguing or very interesting for the people. He has heckled, he was provoking the students in a different way. His statement was, he was talking about the agitation and saying that in the past 12 years we were unable to make the implements or safeguards get implemented. We were not able to do. We don't have that much capacity. And you are talking about independent Telangana. We don't deserve it. This is what Chokkarao's speech was. As a result, students got angered and they were seriously trying to put a point of Jai Telangana. So that first meeting, a public meeting, Jai Telangana slogans and a protest before political leadership. We are talking about the hunger strikes. We have two hunger strikes. One is A. Ravindranath's hunger strike and second one is Potu Krishnamurthy's hunger strike. In all the books, we get a note that A. Ravindranath, Annabathuni Ravindranath's hunger strike, indefinite hunger strike, was the first hunger strike. But some of the sources are talking about Potu Krishnamurthy started his hunger strike just 1 or 2 days before Ravindranath at Palvancha, and this indefinite hunger strike, that is why I said it is unclear. We have two sources, two basic points. One is it started already before 8th January itself. Second thing is it was started on 12th. Most of the books are giving as 12th. So in Telugu Academy book, there is no date. I think on 12th, Potu Krishnamurthy's date is not there. So if at all it is being asked, consider before 8th or 12th. But I think in most of the examinations, you may better go for Potu Krishnamurthy hunger strike on 12th. But many of the historians who are seriously working on history, Telangana history, discussed and they said this is wrong. Potu Krishnamurthy was the first man who has sought an indefinite hunger strike. So what was his demand? His demand was removal of non-mulkis in KTPS. Removal of non-mulkis in KTPS. Because mulkis were the people who gave the land to them. But unfortunately, though these people have sacrificed their land for the sake of KTPS, they are not getting jobs. So the right of the mulkis, right of the natives, right of the locals is much, much more important in this aspect. So this is about KTPS and Potu Krishnamurthy. Potu Krishnamurthy was also continuing strike, this indefinite hunger strike, post-20s, 21-22. So this is very important. So Potu Krishnamurthy hunger strike at Palvancha, KTPS. Then Ravindranath, Annabathuni Ravindranath fast begins on 8th January 1969. Actually, why Annabathuni Ravindranath has sat on hunger strike? See, the consciousness given by the leaders of NGOs or our Prantiya Samiti leaders. So gradually what is happening, people are ready to fight for the state, come out into open as a political demand, not just a political demand, arm-chained demand. You are serious about formation of Telangana. You are serious about making Telangana a separate state. So that slogans of 8th, when he was coming into the meeting, he was on the jeep and Kavirajamurthy, another prominent leader, was there, and this procession came and he sat on hunger strike. When he has sat on hunger strike, now this is the focal point. From here, you can expect the radiation of the movement. I am speaking radiation, means there should be some point of reference which you will show and continue the movement. Ravindranath's fast unto death has created such opportunity that everything in the movement, like hartals or political demands or resolutions, are revolving around Ravindranath's fast till he withdrew from the past. So almost for 12 days, Ravindranath's fast was a thing which was bringing forth many aspects and making a change. So that way, remember Annavatuni Ravindranath as the person who sat on indefinite hunger strike on 8th January. To show solidarity with this Ravindranath's hunger strike, many organizations came forward because these people were staunch Telanganites but having no bigger voice. So like Telangana Rakshanala Udyama Samiti, then T. Purushottam Rao, he was the president of this. T. Purushottam Rao, remember this name, Telangana Rakshanala Udyama Samiti. Such names can be given in bits or it can be asked to match the following. Then CPI MLA Razab Ali. Razab Ali was the CPI MLA from Khammam, and Kavirajamurthy, vice chairman of Khammam municipality. Warangal students, all these people came to Ravindranath's fast site and expressed their solidarity. Thus, now a center has been started. Talk about that movement, talk about that center, and you continue the movement like this. In support of Ravindranath, in Warangal, on 8th January, there was a big hartal. On 9th January, there was public meeting. And this public meeting made some resolutions. What were the resolutions? Very important, remember. Remove non-mulkis, appoint mulkis. This is a demand, a basic demand. And you have got already gentleman's agreement as the criteria to make justice for the Telangana people. So remove non-mulkis and appoint cut. So remove non-mulkis, appoint mulkis. Next aspect, enquiry into fake certificates. All the certificates which were issued should be inquired so that the fake certificates, the persons with fake certificates can be identified and you can deny the job to him. Then assurance to implement the gentleman's agreement. The points which were discussed in gentleman's agreement should be implemented. This solid and proper assurance they wanted to get from the government. Then redesign Pochampad as a major project. Pochampad was a major project, but what has happened? Pochampad became a medium project with lesser targets, lesser adequate area and no allocations, as we have seen in another chapters. So redesign Pochampad as a major project is another demand. High-level committee to assess Telangana surplus is another point. What is this high-level committee? It is not any local political committee, but experts committee to assess the surplus or to assess Telangana's surplus. Once you understand Telangana surplus, you can force the government to shed all that to benefit the people of Telangana in the way of investing or allocating to. There were protests at Hyderabad. Ravindranath's meeting, Khammam. Now Khammam is the center, epicenter as I called. Now protests are spread everywhere. As we have seen, Warangal already they have joined the movement by making a hartal and bandh and procession. On 12th January in Hyderabad, Mallikarjun is coming into the picture. Mallikarjun, OU Students Union General Secretary. He demanded a separate state. part of the protest, part of the movement, we'll be talking about the problems or contradiction in the student movement. But the student movement is one of the important section which has started the movement in 1969 with a thorough zeal, vigor, and with solid, what you call, understanding of the injustice. The understanding of injustice, I'll explain further within no time. After some time, after a few minutes, I'll be explaining the injustices they are talking about. They have taken a procession from Usmania University to Nizam College, and this procession was very important. In this procession, many important leaders of next phase, national stature, like Jayapal Reddy, K. Keshav Rao, or Venkatram Reddy, all student leaders in 1969, they were in the movement. Nayana Narasimha Reddy, another important leader today, was part of the socialist movement, and he was also participating in this protest march. Till now, we have talked about the beginnings of 1969 movement, the preparation or the initial days, like raising consciousness and the beginnings of hunger strike or some of the farms, and students getting organized in a preliminary way. Like various protests were initiated in this entire period. For example, a 3-day hunger strike was taken up in Khammam in support of Ravindranath hunger strike. It was started by MLA, local MLA Satyanarayana, Khammam district MLA Satyanarayana, and the protest is the form of protest is hunger strike. Then hunger strike, if Ravindranath is sitting on hunger strike, what the other will do? They have to take up different forms of protest. Different forms means what? Hartals, boycott of classes, taking processions, rallies, and all those things. In this period, as we have talked about the first rally happening in Hyderabad rally, that is 12th, we have talked about Mallikarjun and those people started a rally. On 15th, a strike in Hyderabad, a procession was taken on 15th also. Then this type of organization, this type of protests, these types of protests are getting organized every day. For example, buses were stopped. The buses which were from Andhra entering into Telangana was stopped because Khammam is the point where you can stop the buses from Andhra. And Kajipeta, Vijayawada train was stopped. Means people were protesting and stopping all the transport so that the voice should be heard by the state. On 16th January, we can say, by this time, the movement has spread to all the Khammam towns. So by this time, if we recap the things, from 12th onwards, from 8th onwards, the movement is spread in Warangal, Hyderabad, and Khammam towns, and gradually making an impact on Telangana society. So they were burning the newspapers, copies of newspapers, because these newspapers were not reporting about all these things. Very interestingly, all the newspapers except Golconda, which was from Telangana, Telangana's Golconda was stopped by this time. By 66 it is stopped. So there is no paper which is coming from Telangana people. So all the capital or newspapers which were run by Andhra intellectual or capital. So automatically they don't have any sympathy towards this movement. So no reporting of this movement. If at all they were reporting the movement in a very bad light. So what has happened in this entire process? The copies of the newspapers were burnt. This is not the... Actually, in the last phase, we have seen such protests against media, against news channels, boycotting of papers, or cutting the papers. For example, there is something Andhra along with the second part. So, for example, Andhra Patrika, the people used to cut that Andhra and Patrika will remain. So, the paper you get at your home will be just Patrika, not Andhra Patrika. Andhra name is gone. Like that, this protest was there in 69 too. In 69, copies of Andhra newspapers were burnt, and the movement is gradually entering into a new phase of a higher phase. Like OU Students Union called for indefinite protests in Telangana from 16th onwards, Entire Telangana, once you give a call for the protest in entire Telangana, definitely the whole thing will catch up. On 16th, Hartal in many towns of Telangana. Today we call as Hartal. Hartal. What do you mean by Hartal? This word we don't use nowadays very much. Hartal means Band. Hartal. Hartal or Hartal. This Hartal was a form, name we used to call regularly. Today we call it as Band mostly. So this 16th, from 16th onwards, Telangana towns were in a Hartal mode. Lathi charge were happening in many places, like in Kodada, Lathi charge, and hunger strike and public meeting in Warangal. Once it is a public meeting or hunger strike, remember Warangal center is such a center. Whenever the movement is spreading, any movement, thousands of people will gather, thousands of students will gather in a public meeting. Whether it is 1952 gathered at Subedari area or 1969 happening or in the future also. Wherever there is a call or a movement, thousands will gather in Warangal. So a huge meeting was taking place in Warangal in support of Ravinna's hunger strike. We can see a photograph of Usmania University students rally on 17th January. This protest rally was so big. So students' protests, rallies has become a regular activity from this period onwards. Educational institutions were completely closed. Students gathered in thousands in Warangal, Hanmakonda, Hyderabad and many towns. OU students were sitting on hunger strike at Secretariat. So why Secretariat is the center? Why? Because Secretariat where you have all the people who take a decision on these safeguards. Now I am talking about two stands in the student group. For example, if there is a movement will not be monolithic every time. Every movement will have different shades, different opinions. Like that, Telangana movement, 16 movement has two different opinions in the beginning. I am raising this because this is a conceptual item. Many of our books which are in the market are not showing 69 movement in a good light. They are good light means they are not making any nonsensical statement. But the problem is, if you don't represent the movement in a correct way, if you distort or if you don't represent the historical facts, the movement will not be represented in a correct manner. That is what I am talking about. Any movement should be, historical facts should be thoroughly mentioned. Some of the books giving two fractions were there, and because of this fraction, one fraction is pro Brahmanand Reddy, our chief minister, the other fraction is anti Brahmanand Reddy. The movement has some what you call dynamics in this contradiction also. If you start with that point, you will belittle Telangana movement, remember. So don't do that. 1969 movement is a movement, a genuine movement, people fighting for their rights, people fighting for the implementation of safeguards. That is the one. So here in this aspect, there are two strands. One is a strand or a branch or a group which is talking about we want safeguards. Madan Mohan, Raghuvar Rao, Adiraju Venkateshwar Rao, all these people were talking about safeguards. Implementation of safeguards is the key. Though they are for separate Telangana, that is not the main slogan. The main slogan of separate state has been taken by Mallikarjun, Sridhar Reddy like people. So they want a state. And these people, though they are agitating for all these things, a subtlety is there, the difference is there, minor difference is there about the safeguards and the separate state. Here you can understand why separate Telangana people or separate state demand, the people who are demanding separate statehood are also talking of safeguards only. Very interesting documents came up in these books. Like they were documenting all the points. The points they were talking was very amazing. Like they were talking how the Telanganites were discriminated. I am just giving some of the points from this book. Like out of 150 cooperative sub-registrars, all from Andhra promoted, whereas not one from Telangana was promoted in 4 years. So 150 promoted from Andhra and not even one from Telangana in cooperative department. 8 joint registrars, all are from Andhra, and 20 deputy registrars, 3 from Telangana. Out of 23, Telangana. Out of 8 joint registrars, no one from Telangana. Out of 23 managers, that is cooperative sub-registrars, all are from Andhra and none from Telangana. And one IAS officer post was there in cooperative department, and very interestingly, that post is IAS cadre post. And they have transferred Andhra non-IAS and made him to occupy that seat, and the IAS who can be posted here was transferred to somewhere else. And out of registrars 120, Andhra 16, Telangana. This is the number, startling. You have a minimal number out of 126 means what? You can see even commercial tax department they were talking about. Then about the fisheries department, director, deputy director posts are not filled because local people are not qualified. Local MSc was promoted in 7 years, and matric passed from Andhra was promoted much earlier. Means matric pass, you are qualified. This is safeguards. When I am talking about safeguards are nothing but the safeguards which were the points mentioned in gentleman agreement. So these are the violations. If safeguards are correctly implemented, Telangana would have got all these things. Like Andhra got 9 polytechnics and Telangana got only 2. TTIs, teacher training institutes, Andhra got 10, Telangana 2. The 2, one is affiliated to university. Cut. TTIs, Andhra got 10, Telangana got 2. And that among those 2, one is affiliated to university. So less TTIs. And you say there are no qualified teachers from Telangana. You bring Andhra people into education department. Then about medical, beds in hospital, Andhra 65 beds per 1 lakh, Rayalaseema 45 beds for 1 lakh, Telangana 13 beds for 1 lakh, 13 beds per 1 lakh. So glaringly gap is there between the facilities provided in Telangana and the other part of Andhra Pradesh state. Even in Harijan welfare department, you can see Andhra has 28 lakh population of Harijans and 2.2 crores were spent, and Telangana has 21 crores population and rupees 77 lakhs were spent. Here it is 77 lakhs, there it is 2.2 crores. The gap between the population is very less. Here it is 21 lakhs, there is 28 lakhs. So these are the facts which made the people to fight for the safeguards. So Telangana movement is always a movement on solid reason, solid ground, remember this. In the last phase also, when the people were agitating, Andhra protagonists or the unificationists were blaming Telangana movement or trying to belittle Telangana movement by saying that Telangana movement is an outcome of political unemployment. People do not have employment, or political leaders do not have correct posts. That is why Telangana movement has come. This is what they said. No, this is 100% wrong. Telangana has 1001 reasons to say why we should be separate. All these points are the conceptually shows the strength of the or ideological strength of Telangana movement. When protests are reaching its peak, the movement is spreading to all the parts of the state. How political people are reacting, if we see, Achyuta Reddy, the chairman of TRC, former chairman, he says, students need not oppose. Politicians will look after the welfare of the state, so you need not protest, go and study. And we have to fight only for safeguards. And he supported Kasu Brahmanand Reddy, said, he is a great gentleman, he is a good man, he is looking after the welfare of Telangana too. This is what Achyuta Reddy's statement. Later again he is shifting his stand. This is the tragedy of political people in those days. Then, second one is Ramananda Tirtha. Ramananda Tirtha is another political leader who is a staunch opponent of Telangana entire lifetime. When the merger of Hyderabad state part, that is Telangana part of Hyderabad state into Andhra to form Andhra Pradesh was there, many Telangana people were opposing, and Ramananda Tirtha supported this merger. And very interestingly, Ramananda Tirtha is not a Telugu guy. Ramananda Tirtha is from Marathwada region. And non-Marathwada, non-Telugu, And talking about Vishalandra, his intentions were always against Telangana. So Ramananda Tirtha, a serious or senior Congress leader, was opposing Telangana even before formation, and now in 1969 also Ramananda Tirtha was opposing to the slogan of separate Telangana. He says the gentleman's agreement or safeguards has the moral obligation or moral authority. It has to be implemented. Don't worry. All this talk of separate Telangana is nonsense or nothing important. That's what he is saying. You can see this is the attitude of a Congress leader. Then, till 19th, till 18th, the movement is growing. As the movement is growing, what has happened? The Chief Minister Kasu Brahmanand Reddy called all-party meeting, because it is not just sitting or protesting. The agitators were violently protesting, stopping the transport system, affecting the train movement and buses, and the movement is gaining. So to stop this, to pacify the agitation, Brahmanand Reddy called for all-party meeting. This all-party meeting was attended by 45 members. You can see Chokkarao, Achyuta Reddy, Konda Lakshman, Congress leaders, Lachanna, Tslprb, C.H. Rajeshwarrao, Communist, V.B. Raju, Congress, Sultan Salahuddin Owaisi, MIM, Kakani Venkatatnam, a staunch supporter of Jayandra movement in the latter phase. So these 45 people have discussed and made an agreement. This is known as all-party agreement. And very interesting and important aspect about this all-party agreement is, this all-party agreement, the first point itself, the government is accepting that the non-compliance or non-implementation of gentleman agreement is the reason for the movement of this phase. This is what they have accepted. Kasu Brahmanand Reddy accepted non-implementation of gentleman agreement or the safeguards. This is the moral victory of 1969 movement. And they have issued a GO after this all-party agreement. They have signed an agreement, and as a result, they have issued a GO MS number 36. This GO MS number 36 is an important GO which is taking a leaf again into a next chapter, because this GO is to implement the safeguards which were talked before. To consider the measure of ensuring effective implementation of the Telangana safeguards, this GO was issued. These are the words present in the GO. So what is the essence of this GO number 36? Major aspect. All non-domicile persons who have been appointed either directly by promotion or by transfer to posts reserved for mulkis, reserved under the Andhra Pradesh Public Employment Act for Telangana region, will be immediately relieved from the service. Did you get the point? All the non-mulkis who were transferred or directly, either directly or by promotion or by transferred to the posts into Telangana or reserved for Telangana, should be immediately relieved from service. In a small word or sentence we can see, non-mulkis should be taken out from the posts of mulkis. This is GO. The posts so rendered vacant will be filled by the qualified candidates, that is Telangana candidates, possessing domicile qualifications, means they should be mulki, the proper certificate. And in cases, if the candidates are not available, if at all there are non-availability of candidates to fill those posts, so the posts should be left unfilled. Again a check. Previously what they were doing, non-availability, they have filled with Andhras. This time they have clearly mentioned that the post shall be left unfilled till qualified candidates become available. Means till the next Telangana candidate, a qualified candidate comes, the post should be unfilled. Action on the above lines will be taken immediately. These were the lines the GO was talking about. So all non-domicile employees should be relieved, shall be provided by employment in the Andhra region without breaking service and by creating supplementary posts if necessary. Again, here you can see, here what is happening, non-mulkis were relieved from the posts. Relieved from the post means they are removed from the post and taken back to Andhra region. When they are going back to Andhra region, where is the seat, where is the vacancy? So, they are providing opportunity for the retrenched. See, once you say that this is illegal, irregular and illegal are the words you are using. If you have appointed people illegally or irregularly, how can you provide again on the basic people's exchequer? Come to Telangana people. Though qualified people are there, you don't appoint. On the other hand, Andhras, those who are appointed illegally or irregularly, you are taking them back and providing opportunity to serve in the state government. This bias you can see always. So, by creating supernumerary posts, you can take back the Andhra employees to Andhra region. So, thus they have saved the rights of the Andhra people and not even serious about thinking about the rights of the Telangana people. All non-domicile posts are persons appointed on or after 1st November 1956 to the categories shall be relieved not later than 28th February 1969. This is very important. The deadline they were giving is 28th February 1969. This agreement is happening on 19th. GO is coming within 2 days. So, within 1 month, February whole month and this a small period, that is 1 week or 10 days period. So, almost 38 days time they have given to relieve the non-mulkis from the posts. And they are warning also, like the secretariat, offices of the head of the departments in the cities of Hyderabad and Secunderabad are instructed to seriously comply this order. If they are not making this happen, means relieving the non-mulkis, if they are not relieving the non-mulkis and sending them, charges will be immediately framed against the defaulting heads of offices. That's what. They are warning the officers to implement it. This is what you can see. So, GO number 36 is a provision to remove mulkis. What is happening, I will talk about it later. Now, another point in GO number 36. As I said, secretariat, and the other point is offices of head of the departments in the cities, twin cities. Why we are calling secretariat and offices of heads separately and we are talking about twin cities? Why don't we call it as capital is Hyderabad, capital? See, there should not be loophole so that all the offices located here should be complying this order. Means heads or head of the departments who are heading the department at the highest level in the state capital. Whether the office is located in Hyderabad or Secunderabad, it doesn't matter. Whether the office is located in secretariat premises itself also, it doesn't matter. All should comply with this rule. This is what they have said. Next important point about this GO number 36 is the second vacancy in every unit of 3 vacancies in non-gazetted posts are to be filled by direct recruitment. Remember this formula, very important thing. Second vacancy in every 3 unit. For example, there are 3 vacancies. The second vacancy should be filled by the mulkis through direct employment, recruitment. Second vacancy, they did not say third vacancy or first vacancy. They are saying second vacancy because if you have the second vacancy only, you will go up to third vacancy. If you have just 1 or 2 vacancies, again this compliance with GOs will not be happening. Mulki rules may not happen. You can take many legal loopholes. So that is why they mentioned very clearly that every second vacancy out of the 3 unit should be allocated to locals. This is another provision. And to make this happen, a GO, the GO, that is to make this GO implement or to make this happen, to make this happen, government has appointed 2 IAS officers to supervise the implementation of these orders. That is IJ Naidu, an IAS officer. He will be the in charge of all offices in Hyderabad and Secunderabad, including secretariat departments and local bodies. R. Vittal Rao, all offices including local bodies in the Telangana districts other than Hyderabad and Secunderabad. Means the work division is clear. These 2 IAS officers will supervise the implementation of this GO number 36. In a simple word, I can say these two officers will see that non-Mulkis are relieved from the posts of Mulkis and sent back to Andhra. This is the one. So what was the reaction from the people? On 22nd January, after this GO and all-party meeting, there were many things happening. We'll discuss threadbare in the next chapter. But 22nd January, Ravindranath fast was withdrawn after Venkatalaw's plan. And Mallikarjun like leaders are opposing this plan and saying that this is nothing but a repeat of gentleman agreement. And from Andhra side, the reaction is Andhra employees went to court against the all-party agreement. Means their interests are hurt, they are saying. Condemnation of the movement in all-party agreement hurt the feelings of the Telangana. The all-party agreement very sadly said they were giving all these things. First point, they said that violation of gentleman agreement is the reason. Then you should have kept quiet. But the government statement reads that we condemn, we don't agree with the aims, we don't support all these things. So you are condemning the movement, and this has hurt the sentiment of the people. Sentiment means it's not just sentiment. It is a feeling of the people. They were serious about the rights, and you are condemning it. So this is another subtle psychological reason for the continuation of movement further even after this. GO number 36 could not satisfy or pacify Telangana agitators. Thus, students decided to intensify this movement, and though Kasu Brahmanand Reddy tried to make some intervention like pacifying thing to bring in this new GO and remove Mulkis, at least on the paper and beginning. Till now, it was not a big activity from the CM side or the government side. Now, they have initiated this GO number 36, but people are not happy. Why? Because though the GO is there, they are not confident of the implementation. Because who is there in implementing? The person who will execute. The person who is making the law is Andhra. The person who is executing is also an Andhra. Most of the people in the HODs or secretariat are from Andhra. So how can you expect the things to happen? This is the apprehension of the students and the agitators. They continued the movement because 28th is the deadline. We will continue the movement. We will see what will happen after 28th. This was their stance. So what is the importance of period? If you have to sum up this entire period up to here, up to this 20th of January, with the background of the consciousness, growing consciousness of Telangana rights, whether it is Telangana Mahasabha or Kolishetty Ramadasu like people's efforts. Main aspect of this period is Telangana rose against Andhra ruling class after a big gap, a lull into direct action. They are on the streets. Second thing is employees and students are the two forces who can be militant, who has guts to halt the state government's activities. So these two sections ignited the movement, and they did not just oppose the Andhra ruling class, but they have exposed the Telangana leadership too. Many, in the next chapters, we will be talking about many Telangana leaders were not ready to accept the demand for separate Telangana. They are happy in this united Andhra Pradesh. So they were exposed. And this is a beginning of an year-long mass struggle. Beginning of year-long mass struggle, I am saying. Just we have, in this class, we have discussed only a few months. Not even few months, we have talked about 1.5 month period, the activities. But this 1.5 month activity is flowing into a bigger phase. The whole year, the movement is engaging the Telangana society to fight for its rights. So what is happening? Political parties are forced to take up a stand and say whether you are for Telangana or not, whether you are for separate Telangana or not, or you just satisfied with safeguards. So political parties also have to come out with their stand. This is all the achievement of this 1969 movement first days. In the next chapter, we will be talking about the intensification of movement and the dynamics of the movement and result of the movement. So to sum up, the period we have talked is a very less period, that is a 3-month period, growing consciousness and entering into the first phase of the movement in the form of hunger strikes, mass protests, rallies, attacks on communication and transport, resulted in GO number 36. This is the essence of today's.
హలో ఎవ్రీవన్, ఈరోజు మనం మెన్స్ట్రేషన్లో లాస్ట్ పార్ట్ చూద్దాం. ఈ 2D పోర్షన్లో లాస్ట్ పార్ట్ రిగార్డింగ్ సర్కిల్స్ మనం క్వశ్చన్స్ చూద్దాం. సో సర్కిల్స్లో మనం బేసిక్గా ఏరియా రిలేటెడ్ లేకుంటే సర్కంఫరెన్స్ రిలేటెడ్ బేసిక్